Another episode of the Mindful Moneymakers, where we break down all the tips, tricks, and mindset shifts you need to make if you want to live a life by design instead of by. Good thing we're live. Get excited. If you want to live a life by design instead of by default, today I'm super excited to be introducing my guest, a long-time connection that I've had, and a complete inspiration when it comes to content creation and storytelling. Today, my guest is Matt Phipher, who is a man who came from nothing, fought through relationship struggles, and built himself into a full-time content creation creator and built and business owner. Now, he's using his voice, experience, and platform to help others find hope, discover their purpose, and take the first steps towards the life they truly want. You may know him from his YouTube channel, Criminal Motives, but today you'll get to hear the story behind the success. Thank you for joining us today, Matt. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
Oh, phenomenally well. This has been a long time coming, man. I'm excited for
Yeah,
our conversation.
absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely. We definitely need to catch up.
yes, indeed. I feel like my introduction kind of just scratched the surface. So I want to start off by giving you an opportunity to kind of tell us a little bit more about yourself, your background, how you got started, where you're at now, and where we're headed.
So I got started creating relationship content. My background, I'm a former therapist. I'm a full-time content creator these days. I have a social media marketing agency now that takes up most of my time. But my real passion is in content creation. I've noticed how it's impacted my life, how it impacts other people. I love the psychological and emotional aspect of it. I just love creating content. Not only do I try to do a lot of it, but I also help other people out with it. But if people, when people go to my page now compared to what they used to, I literally just try to create conversations for people. I might take something that is happening, in the news or something that people are talking about, and I might give my own spin to it, my own angle to it, or just talk about it in general, and just kind of see what people's thoughts and I like to get curious about what people feel about some of these topics. Here recently there was a woman that was talking about how she fell in love with her psychiatrist. So I did a video about that. I did a video about the three young kids that stole from Walmart, and not Walmart, Walgreens, and just their reaction. So I like to just create conversations. Basically, what I do these days.
Right. I love that. And I remember commenting on that video. I
Yeah.
saw a lot of pain, but I also saw in the comment section a lot of judgment. So I want to
Mhm.
dive into that. But before we do, I kind of want to talk about what goes into becoming a content creator as somebody who jumped out there. I think this is pretty new to most people, it's pretty new to society as a whole. But people that do want to get into it find a lot of mental roadblocks, a lot of insecurity, a lot of self judgment going into it. And not only did you do it, but you also help other people do it. So, what are some of the challenges that you've had to overcome, and what are some of the common challenges you see other people go through when it comes to starting a content creation movement?
The common challenge I see for people who are starting, so I would say first and foremost that the challenges are in sections based on where you're at in your content creation journey. The person who's just starting out, and when I say just starting out, I say less than like let's just say like 1,000 videos, maybe like 500 videos. Um, they're they're oftentimes afraid of judgment. They're afraid of like what people are going to say. They're afraid of putting out content that's not going to fail, and they're overly concerned about going viral. And then, so part two, people oftentimes, even after they put out content, are overly concerned about going viral. And I tell people that it's actually more difficult to be consistent than it is to go viral. Once you find, and the other thing is that sometimes you can actually go viral for the wrong things and find yourself on the, I mean, just like we were just talking about the woman who fell in love with her psychiatrist, she's going viral for all the wrong things. Now, for a lot of people, like if I told someone like, you're going to go viral and everyone's going to be talking about you, you're going to be in the news, you're going to have tens of thousands of people in your live, you're going to have, your account's going to grow from 0 to 50,000 in less than a week. A lot of people would say that all those things would be good. Now, in her situation, she's going viral for all the wrong reasons. People think that she is losing her mind, that she's having a psychotic episode, which I can't deny that, whether that those those things are true or not. But she's going viral for all the wrong reasons. She's completely ruined her reputation. She's lost a job, So I always tell people, sometimes you have to be careful what you ask for, and even when you do go viral, it's important to learn how to be consistent. Because there's a lot of people. You and I were on TikTok, around the same time. There's a lot of people who were viral back then that we don't see or hear from them anymore. Because either A, they're not consistent, or B, that they weren't able to keep up with that virality. They might have had one great video or a series of great videos and weren't able to duplicate that success.
Right, right. It's super hard to like kind of shoot straight up into the atmosphere and
Right.
think that you're going to stay there for a long time. And I know that in our community, I know we're focused on personal development, right? So a lot of the people that we talk to and we're connected with are focused on something a little bit more valuable, in my opinion, than the typical viral video. And our goal, like you said, we're over focused on virality when our niche is a lot smaller. Our niche is about people that are ready to actually focus on and acknowledge the uncomfortable truths about ourselves and make changes. So I think that you're onto something when you kind of steer people away from uh, trying to get hundreds and millions of views and likes and stuff on a video, while also still trying to have some type of substance to it,
Right.
right? The most
Yep.
viral videos, they're like the McDonald's of
Yep.
content, right?
Hmm.
Everybody's going to get some, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's good for you. And that's on both sides of the spectrum, whether you're the one creating the content or consuming it.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, so when it comes to the content that you actually do produce, I know that we've kind of, and one thing that I really like about you is that you're not afraid to pivot,
Nope.
right? You'll come in, you'll start off creating content in one direction, find a lot of success with that, grow a business off of that, and then still come and create a whole new account sometimes and pivot. How do you find the courage and the what's the word? Something, there's a word there for this, right? Just being so sure of yourself that you can talk about whatever it is you want to talk about and just
Well,
move forward with it.
what something interesting happened one time, because I remember the very first time that I pivoted. Um, I got a lot of pushback. Matt, this was when I pivoted from talking about relationships and like, Matt, this isn't your normal content, this and that. And, I had to remember that this platform belongs to me. It's mine. It has my name on it. I was the one who created it. And actually, what people didn't realize, that wasn't even my first pivot. That was actually my probably second or third pivot. Because when I very first got on TikTok, I initially was creating comedy, was doing comedy skits and things like that. And I just happened to, like, after the pandemic and people needed help, I started creating content about relationships and things like that. And then that kind of blew up. But the thing about it is that sometimes, and there's been times where I've made a pivot and I regretted making the pivot, which I'll get into how to tell the difference here in a second. But the so number one, you have to remember that that the platform belongs to you. So like, if you want to pivot, if you want to start talking about different types of things, and the thing about it is that, like, a lot of times people, like, will either shame the creator for doing that, or the creator will feel bad for doing that. But in any other industry, if someone wanted a promotion, if someone wanted to get a new job, they could easily just do that, right? They just go apply, and they just go. They stop working at McDonald's, they start working at Burger King, they stop working at AT&T, they go to Verizon. No one thinks about it. No one bats an eye. No one, you know, says, like, hey, I thought you were an AT&T rep. Like, they just understand that you got a new job. Well, this is what I do for a living. And if I decide that I'm going to promote a new product, if I'm going to promote a new service, if I'm going to create new content, or whatever the case is, because we, at the end of the day, we all also have a boss, and someone um, that we answer to, right? And so for some people, that might be, their creator. Some people, it's also, and no matter what, it's still going to be somewhat the algorithm too. So sometimes a niche can change. For one of the examples I would give, one of the reasons why my first early pivots, I stopped talking about narcissism, because when it early on, I thought it was helpful for people, but then I started noticing that people weaponized it, right? And so I was like, I don't like my name attached to something that people are weaponizing and that people are using for harm, not only on the platform, but also they're not using it in the way that I intended for this to go out. So things are constantly changing and constantly shifting. People who are doing AI content, there was a shift here on YouTube. So what are you supposed to do? Just keep doing it? And they just a lot of them got demonetized. So what are they supposed to do? Are they just supposed to continue to do that, to please the crowd, or do you make a pivot to make sure that you're able to continue to get paid? So there's lots of reasons to pivot. One of the reasons why I pivoted to true crime, it's not even I wouldn't even consider it like a deep. I've learned to love it, but it's not necessarily like a passion of mine, or wasn't an initial passion of mine. It was something like I remember I just was talking about a true crime situation, and people loved it, right? They absolutely loved it. They loved the way that I was able to because whenever I put something like out there like that, because I'm not a true crime junkie, it was very different from other people. And like I was talking about before, I enjoy creating content. So I enjoyed doing the editing and doing the, kind of giving in a strange way, like giving a personality to true crime type of stuff. Not being overly serious about certain things, and it just kind of took off. And so I think that people should feel comfortable with pivoting. But I also do think that, especially if you're going to do it full time, there does need to be a strategy. Because when going back to what I was talking about, where there was a point in time where I made a regret with a pivot, I didn't pivot with strategy. I was doing really well for myself, and when I pivoted, I didn't think about the fact that I was actually creating a whole nother job for myself, and that I wasn't going to have the time to be able to maintain what I was currently doing, and what and the new task that I was taking on. What really should have happened in that situation was I probably should have had two different channels at that point. But so I think that there's strategy with pivoting as a content creator as well.
Yeah, man, because it's real easy to knock down the house of cards,
Yeah.
right? And I think that while pivoting strategically can actually take you to the next level, a lot of people kind of pivot prematurely, right? Just being unsure of themselves and just
Yeah.
trying out things way too quickly, right? Is
Yeah.
that something that you've seen as well?
Yeah, 100%. People just think that something isn't working or something wasn't working, when really they were just too early in the process. So I think that it's important to, and there's one of the issues as a creator. A lot of times people don't believe that there's money in being a content creator or those sorts of things. That's actually not true. What I actually find is that, and what a lot of creators who I work with find, is that there's actually too many options. And so a lot of times people find themselves spreading themselves too thin, and when one thing isn't working, all of a sudden they want to spin to something else. It doesn't matter what you choose to do. It doesn't matter if you want to get paid from a platform, through ad revenue, if you want to get, um, like brand deals and those sorts of things. Like, you can build a system around it to be successful. And I don't care who you are, it can be done. But you have to understand that, like, it's not going to, the reason why I said earlier, when I said, 1,000 videos, it's going to take you. I mean, it took Mr. Beast like 13 years to, like, before he was monetized or something crazy like that, right? And I'm not saying that's going to take you 13 years to do that, but you do have to understand that if you're going to make money at a full time, like at a full time level, you're going to have to put in not only a lot of work, but a lot of consistent work, and you're going to have to build out systems, and there's going to be consistency, and and there is going to be failure, and that failure is opportunities for you to learn. It's not time for you to pivot, and when you do pivot, guess what? You're basically just starting that clock all the way back over again. You're starting back from square one, and you're probably going to hit that milestone again, just in another niche or another in that pivot. There was a um, very large, extremely large, like 18 million creator, um, who I was watching him on a podcast, who was considering pivoting over from YouTube and TikTok over to streaming. And the podcast episode that I was watching was actually from a few years ago. So I went to see if he continued the streaming, and he didn't. And I actually thought that, him not going down that path was probably the right move, because in the video he actually said, um, you know, I'm struggling with this because I didn't realize I was going to be starting from square one, right? And he's going to have to learn all the lessons that he learned from going from 0 to 18 million followers, with who he in his current niche. Going back to 0 is really, really, really tough.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I want to, I want to pivot,
Yeah.
right, from because I think that that's very helpful information, and I want to talk a little bit about your pivot, right? So, what went into deciding when to pivot? I mean, not when, well, when to pivot, but not in a generalized sense. When to pivot for you, and what to pivot to. What brought you to true crime from relationships and social media management?
One of the things so with me, I had to, a lot of it was, even though I was still on the same platform, I had to make a decision on if I wanted to continue to provide um, provide content that my current audience still enjoyed. And that was a really difficult decision, because I could I could go back to my roots and start doing comedy stuff, which I tested some of that, um, and it flopped. Now I could continue to go down that. So let me rephrase. Let me backtrack. I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself. When you pivot, there's different types of pivots. So you can pivot and like start a new channel and let that be your main focus and that sort of thing. There's also a pivot where like you stay on your current channel, and sometimes if you do that, like you have to consider the audience that you've already built. So I have close to 2 million followers across all platforms. And so I had to consider, and am I going to literally just start over, and start fresh, or do I find something that keeps all of us happy? So for me, one of the reasons why I wanted to pivot was I was burning out. I was exhausted from meeting with people I didn't like. Um, I didn't like, because I enjoy creating content. I didn't like content being attached to um, bringing in clients necessarily, because then I felt like I was limiting myself in the type of things that I wanted to talk about, the type of things that I wanted to do. And so um, and so one of the things I had to realize is that I wanted to be able to talk more openly and globally about things that were happening in the news and that sort of thing. I also felt that me talking about true crime still allowed for me to talk about different things that I would talk about as a therapist, like trauma, like unhealthy relationships. And so it was a nice blend where I was able to entertain people, but through that entertainment, I'm still able to teach and talk and have conversations with people. And I also think that for me, it got away from the whole salesy stuff. I I didn't like that. It was necessary at one point in time, but it got to a point where I just didn't. I just don't like that part of it. A part of social media. I understand it's necessary. There's clients that I have, and I help them out with that because it's necessary in some people's business models. I just didn't want that to be a part of my business model anymore. And so I landed on true crime, and it seems like a fit for me. I enjoy talking about it. I talk about other things too, just other topics and things like that. Um, but I enjoy talking about it. My audience enjoys it, and it's a great way to create conversation.
I love that. Tell us about one of your favorite true crime episodes that you've done so far.
Hmm. I would probably say the episode about Ruby Frankie. She was a YouTube creator, um, who who there was significant child abuse with in her situation. It was they had a family vlog channel. It was probably one of my favorites, because I enjoyed editing it. I enjoyed like all aspects of it, where I felt like my personality was coming out. It's kind of strange. It was like a nice blend of of the story. I also think that it opened up a lot of people's eyes um, to child abuse, and opened up a lot of people's eyes to child abuse behind the scenes of like family vlog channels. And there was a lot of nuance there because of religious aspects. And so I was able to, I've always been passionate about bringing attention to um, abusive situations when on the surface it looked like everything was all put together. And so it was wealthy family with therapists, and there was a therapist that was a part of the abuse as well. If anything, was probably the heading it, creating it. And so there was a lot. So I enjoyed the story. Not that I didn't enjoy, obviously, people actually going through stuff, but I enjoyed sharing this story. I enjoyed editing it, and people's reactions were good too. And so I felt like that kind of hit the nail on the head with all pieces. As a matter of fact, earlier today, I was talking. I was sharing with my future wife that I wanted to get back to that. So, and I was telling you before we hopped on that I'm going to be making some tweaks, and those tweaks are trying to get back to the way that, so less editing and more personality in some of my content. Um, so yeah, that was probably my favorite.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I'm completely taken aback. So I know that anybody listening right now needs to tune in to figure out exactly how the therapist was involved in the abuse. That's not something that you typically expect from a therapist, right? So
Yeah.
my interest is piqued. Is there anybody that you know would definitely get a lot out of subscribing to your channel? Like, what type of person is your content for nowadays?
Anyone who likes true crime, anyone who likes um, current events, news. Um, if you like trending topics, if you like pop culture type of things, I would say that you would like my channel. It also kind of depends on like what part of the channel that you would like. I think that pretty much anyone would like my YouTube Shorts. They would like my TikTok. I think that you probably would need to be a little bit more into true crime if to actually like follow my longer videos, and you definitely have to be into true crime to follow my podcast. And so, but I would also say that like it's not all. Some of it is like just different things that are happening in the news. So if you enjoy kind of people getting in trouble, and later on today or this week, I'm going to be talking about the nurse who and this is the reason why I hesitate sometimes to say true crime, because yes, it's technically true crime and it's true, like true stories. You know what, if you like storytelling, that's the correction. If you enjoy storytelling, you would enjoy my page. Because like this nurse that I'm gonna do something on later on this week. Did she commit a true crime? Yes, absolutely. But it's the story of how and why, right? One of the things that I actually try to do in some circumstances, I can't do it. I'll do it all the time, but I try to bring some human aspects to it, right? So I'll actually tell you the story of the nurse right here, right now. I'm not going to tell you the whole thing, but this nurse got in trouble for lying about her license, and so she lied about her license, and it's a big deal. There's going to be major lawsuits that are going to be coming from this. So she got arrested, but if you understand how she got there, you can actually kind of make sense. So a lot of people don't know that you can actually get hired, and this is pretty much all healthcare. Therapists definitely, because but you can get hired without your license initially. because you actually have to work under someone to be able to even achieve your license. So she got hired out of school to I think this place called Advent Health, and so everything was fine initially, and with her pending license that she was going to have to test for later on. So she went and she tested for it and she failed. And so she goes back to HR, and HR is like, or she actually doesn't say anything. The HR is like, hey, what's going on with your license? What's going on with your test? Did you take your test? And she says, yes. Right? So HR doesn't do anything about it. Like,
Technically,
hey,
she
we
did
need, and
take
then,
her test, so
some weeks or months to go by. Hey, what's going on with your license? Oh, yeah, I took the test. Okay, great. But where's the actual license? Like, oh, I guess I'm waiting for it to come in the mail or whatever she lied about. Right? So months go by. So it gets to a point where they really lay down the law. They're like, listen, we need your license. Like, what's going on with your license? And so she gives them a number. So the number comes back, and it is a license, but it comes back with a different name. So they go to her and like, hey, what's going on with this? This name doesn't line up with your name, but even though the license is in good standing. And so she tells them that the name on the license, this was identity theft, is what she did. She stole someone else's number. She said, "Oh, the reason why the names don't line up is because I just recently got married." So they
gotcha.
said, so Advent Healthcare said, you know what, we need your marriage license for proof of this. So she
Mhm.
goes home, she gets her marriage license, she turns in her marriage license, and Advent Healthcare didn't check on it. So
Oh,
she worked as an unlicensed nurse for years. Worked
uh,
on over 4,000 clients, and we're talking about so this is actually considered medical fraud.
mhm.
So all this medical billing, insurance, like when your hospital like bills you and all that kind of stuff, if she were your nurse, that could be considered fraud. Like, so if she caused any harm to anyone, that's a malpractice lawsuit. We're talking about over 4,000 people like this, right? And so and then the lawsuits with the Advent Healthcare, because they're also responsible because they also didn't do their due diligence. There's identity theft in here, but it actually kind of makes sense. I mean, I think a lot of people have lied on their resume. They may not have gotten to this part. A lot of people lied on the resume, and so for me, there's like a human aspect to it, where a lot of people may have lied on the resume, lied in the interview or whatever, but not many people have gotten this far,
This
right? And
part, right?
there's only one reason why she got caught. You want to know what the reason why she got caught was?
Why'd she get caught?
She got promoted.
She was a victim of her
So
own
so she
success.
was an un, so she was an unlicensed nurse who got promoted on the job. So she must have been doing something well, right? And when
Mhm.
she got promoted, someone else and someone that was jealous of her pulled on, did a background check on her, found out all this information, and then that's what triggered everything.
Haters. It was the haters.
Yep.
But she also committed serious fraud, though,
Right.
and that was a huge risk. I
Yep.
don't know how to feel about this, Matt. She's a fraud, but she was good at what she did.
Yep.
This is like one of those ethical questions
Exactly.
that,
And
yeah.
this
So
is and this is the reason why I like having these type of conversations. Like, you know, she's yes, she lied, but she also was obviously good at her job to be able to get promoted.
mhm. And still had haters.
Right.
It's like threefold. Yeah, that
Hmm.
is interesting. We got to tap into that one. What was her name again?
I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but
Oh,
if
I
you look
thought
up
you.
unlicensed nurse, it's trending in the news right now. So if you
Yeah, I was confused. I thought you were talking about Ruby as the
oh
other
no,
story. But
yeah,
either way, we're tapping into criminal motives. Is that the same name as the podcast too?
yeah,
Okay, so criminal motives. We're tapping in. This has been a great conversation, man. It's been a long time coming. I really respect you, and the way that you create content has definitely influenced me and what I've been doing. So I want to give you your flowers for that. That's the reason why I wanted to have the conversation. Really enjoyed it. And I know that anybody that is looking to create content is now better off and and closer to their goal for having heard your voice. Before I let you go, I got to ask you one more question.
Yeah, what's up?
Right. That question is, what is one thing that anybody listening right now can do, like a baby step, to start living a little bit more by design and less by default?
So, since we're talking about, so I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this pertaining to content creation because that's kind of been the theme of the show, but this is true in a lot of aspects of life. You learn about the destination while you're on the journey.
Mm.
So, one of the things I tell people is that instead of, a lot of times people get trapped in this like planning thing because they're afraid of failing and all this kind of stuff. Just do it, right? Just start doing stuff. If you say that you want to travel more, start traveling more. Maybe you don't go all the way to Greece, but go get a hotel in the next town over, right? Get used to traveling and get used to, if you want to be a content creator, put out a video. Don't wait till next week to put out a video, right? Record something and put it out today. You don't worry about all the edits and all this kind of stuff. Just get the process started. And if you don't know, like if you're afraid of, if you don't want to put something out and then without all the edits and all that kind of stuff, literally tell your audience, hey, I'm planning on making this bigger. I want to get things. I want to edit things a little bit more and this and that. But hey, this is just the beginning. And there's plenty of times, like I think that people have this, they people fear they want to be perfect all the time and not realizing that when it comes to content creation, like a lot of times when the people that we love on social media the most are the ones that are the less perfect. They're far more authentic, right? And so just be authentic. And like, if you can't breathe because your nose is stuffed, instead of using that as an excuse to not record, literally call it out. Like, I could barely talk, my nose is stuffed, but hey, we got to get this content out, right? And just get it done.
Absolutely. Lean into it. The reason why you can't is the reason why you must.
Right.
Right. And that's the
Exactly.
superpower. Thanks so much for talking to me, Matt. And everybody at home, as always, love, love, be well. And don't forget to have the guts to follow your guts. Peace.